The following programme contains strong language and adult themes.
Okay, well, hello.
Hello.
Oh, I'm not telling you. Hello. Hello and welcome to this month's episode of This Month in Science.
28 to 31 days of science,
31.
as we call it.
Or...
Like 60 days of science.
Okay, so those are all three of us giving.
Completely different.
I think mine's the
Yeah.
catchiest, to be fair.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
I disagree. This one is a Sorry, not the thing. This is a very special episode because we are celebrating 7 years of science. And we're going to put it on the YouTube channel as well to do so. That is
I've only
crazy.
been here a year and a half, so...
7, yeah, not you. 7 years of science, and we have uploaded every single week.
I'm very proud of that.
Not
actually.
even missed one.
Not missed
it's
one.
Been late.
We haven't always uploaded on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Anyway, what are we doing? 7 years of science.
7
Yeah, every
years.
week. Every week. I think the first challenge was our A-levels, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one where I think we had a couple of late ones.
Yeah, I think we had one where we went, okay, it's going to be on the Thursday.
Not even
because
GCSEs.
We weren't doing it in GCSEs.
Yeah,
No,
of
it started
course.
after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're not that young. I think A-levels was the first time we had to go, okay, this is not happening on a Wednesday. I haven't got an exam on a Thursday. And you have to do it this Thursday. You haven't got an exam next Tuesday, so you can do it next Tuesday, that kind of one.
Yeah, and they were very short back then as well. It was only like two
Oh,
or
God,
3
yeah,
minute
yeah. It's like
episodes.
a do it in an evening.
They've
Wow.
expanded a lot.
They have
Very
expanded a lot.
significantly. Yeah.
What other issues have we had? COVID was alright.
Yeah, it was okay
Oh, yeah,
because
loads
that
of
gave
time.
us more time to work on it, and we started filming ourselves as well. So that was a nice
fun.
evolution of the episodes.
Then what did we have? Our university exams.
Yeah, that was always tough, just university as a whole. A lot of
Yeah.
weeks I just didn't have much time, so I think there were quite a few shorter episodes through like 2022, 2023. I was sort of having to, condense them a bit. But we got some cool special interviews with people.
Oh
that
yeah,
time.
we got an interview with, was it Darren?
Yeah, we got Darren Naish, we got Dave Martil a
Got
couple
Dave
times, of
and...
course.
Who was the guy we did with Dave on the beach?
Oh, and Jeremy Lockwood.
Jeremy
That
Lockwood,
was,
yes.
yeah, a recent one, yeah.
And Roy Smith.
Roy was in the room for one of them, but he didn't want to be on camera. He let Dave take the spotlight for that.
Ali in South Africa.
Yeah, the South African episodes were cool.
That
Roy
was
had-
fun because I pre-recorded a bunch of stuff for that.
Yeah, I made predictions, and I don't think I got any of
Yes.
them right.
I think you said there was going to be some Spinosaurus news, didn't you?
Yeah, there often is, but I don't think there was for
wasn't.
those 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, you filmed on location loads. We've done Dorset, Morocco,
Yeah, Morocco's
South
been a fun
Africa,
one.
anywhere else.
We didn't film in South Africa actually.
Filmed
We
in
did
a
once. We
hotel
did once.
After isolated.
We also filmed with Ali for one story.
Yeah.
But what we did was Ollie did it, Ben's brother, and I pre-recorded intros for the next many weeks, and thank you Ollie. Now over to and then my friend Joe, who you've met, did this section where I said, "Oh, now thank you Joe with the health news," and then Joe would be like, "Thank you very much. Today's health news," and then it would be cut off, and then it was a different thing every week, and he very kindly did that for us, and that was actually quite funny. So I think we did really well with South Africa.
Yeah, it was good. Well, obviously my brother is now quite busy with university himself, so we had to figure it out for Morocco when we went.
Morocco,
So
yeah, we
so
got in
there
an
was
editor, my
interesting
friend
one.
Will, he edited the videos
Yeah.
for us.
It was very good.
Yeah, it was good stuff. But we filmed on location in Morocco, which was fun.
Yeah, it was a nice place.
It was
to film.
beautiful.
Yeah.
He cut out the end of it though when Martil came over and went, well, that was fucking awful.
Yeah, he said, I met him the other day, he said it was too difficult to get in because you could barely hear Martil. And just couldn't
No,
find a
and
way
then
to
all
make
of
it
us
work.
reacting, but not the...
Yeah. But yes, it's been good, 7 years, not a single week missed.
No.
That's like a
Crazy.
whole child. You know, when they're 7 years old, they can speak. They're
What
like
are you
this big.
talking about?
Yeah.
No, but like that's a long time of growth. You know, you could grow.
It's a lifetime.
It's like a person at that point. It's not just a thing that moves and eats. Do you know?
You gain some consciousness. A little bit.
Quite a lot of consciousness.
Were you not conscious before the age of 7? Were you just like going around, like
Operating on
floating around, like
basic
No, but I was
T-posing
like,
everywhere?
when they're 7, they're like what? Only a few years away from high school. That's a long period of
What's
time.
high school? What's high school?
Like 12, 13 years old.
Is it middle school, senior school?
You
Oh,
went
yeah,
to
different
middle
names.
schoul?
We had a middle school, yeah.
You didn't have a middle school? What, did
Most-
you just skip
most
that
do
then?
not have a middle school.
Really?
No, of
Not
course
here,
I didn't
no.
have a middle school.
So what the fuck are we talking about this week?
I can't remember.
Well, we've had many good news items over the last 7 years.
We
but
have.
In the last 28 to 31 days, There have been some
I think it's a bit
exciting
more
ones.
than that.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if
About
I've got
60
any
days.
stories from more than that.
This is
So
why
maybe
it's
we're good.
60.
Yeah, it still counts. But you've got some space.
I've got some
things.
space news. Usually I do
Yay.
2 bits of space news, but I've got 1 because my other bit is actually a bit of archaeology news. But this, we're back. We're back at the Red Planet. I think every single one of these we've done so far has got Mars in it because for the last few months there's been so much Mars news, isn't there?
Yeah, people do like Mars.
People do like Mars, but it has every week something else comes up. I have missed Mars stories. There have been Mars stories that have happened that I've gone, they're kind of cool, but I'm not going to cover this today because we've had enough Mars stories and this one isn't massive or insanely important. Another one. What was I going to do for this one? I can't remember. The beach. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Every week there's a Mars story. I don't know which one this one's supposed to be referring to, but I forgot. The beaches. There's a rover, the Jurong rover, I believe it's called, sent up by the Chinese National Space Agency.
I was
Chinese
going to
Space
guess
Agency.
that's where it was from.
The Chinese Space Agency. I can't remember its official name. And it has a radar in it, so it can see underground rocks. It can see rocks that are underground rocks. And of course, it can see through the different layers of
Stratigraphy.
yeah.
Stratigraphy.
What she says.
Stratigraphy.
Stratigraphy.
Okay.
Stratigraphy.
That's not it.
Stratigraphics. Is that easier to say?
Stratigraphy. Why? I did not think I couldn't say that. Ooh! Stratigraphy.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, stratigraphy. That was weird. Anyway, it can see. Thanks, Quinn. He's clapping. It can see through the layers of stratigraphy, and it has found rock that it goes. Look at this. This looks like it used to be a beach, which means, and it doesn't just see like palm trees and discarded drinks cans and deck chairs and stuff.
Barbecues, hypodermic needles.
Yeah, to be fair, on Portsmouth Beach,
I always go look at the
Okie
beach. I think it's really funny.
As you may have already guessed, this episode is now 18 plus. Thanks, Emilia. No advertisers on this one because we mentioned the drugs. But yeah, we've discovered a Martian beach rock.
Martian.
They can see like patterns of waves and light wind, and they've gone, this is the best evidence yet. I don't know whether this is true because it was the study's authors that were saying this, so, maybe they're just quite excited about their own find. But they say it's the biggest evidence yet for a large single body of water on Mars, which is exciting.
I know that's something that's been discussed quite a lot.
Very,
Tuesday
very
on
common.
I
Megaraptorids.
Yeah.
thought the best evidence yet was in August when we found an actual large body of water.
It's liquid
It's
water
like-
on the surface.
Yeah, like an ancient sea.
Like that's. It's got
Which
no
way?
water in
I
it.
can't remember which way around it is. The north is really smooth. The North Hemisphere. So
It
was,
did.
like,
It was
probably
in the
a
northern
ocean.
hemisphere that they discovered this.
Yeah.
In the planetarium, we can click a button and it shows us where the oceans supposedly were.
Oh, that's
It
cool.
goes below.
Nice.
Well, there you go. Even planetarians can be wrong because we don't know what the oceans supposedly were.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
I
a lot
don't
of
know where they
evidence
got that
for it.
information. Pulled it
Well,
right out their arse.
You can tell looking at the planet's surface.
Oh, is that Big Mons or whatever it's called?
Olympus Mons?
Olympus Mons.
Big
Mons.
Could be. It's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, how long have we been going, Quinn?
12 minutes.
12 minutes.
Fucking
We've once
hell.
again said nothing. But yeah, it's great evidence. It's fun to see. A lot of the news articles that came up about this story talked about how scientists have discovered a vacation-style beach on Mars, which is fun to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, for all those prehistoric Martians that were
Prehistoric Martian.
vacationing there.
Yeah, vacationing to their own planet,
Be
which
like
is all fairness what we do.
Yeah. What? It's like a real.
She spoke over us, but I can't remember what. Let's just carry on.
Okay. No, I was gonna say it's like a real life riser. Which none of you will understand.
Is it a Star Trek thing?
Yes, it is.
It is a Star Trek thing.
People will know. They'll
You said that, and I
understand.
was like, "Is this a science thing? I'm supposed to know." And then you started smiling. I've said a
Yeah.
Star Trek reference, and no one else is going to get it. Smile.
Yeah.
So there we go. But yeah, very very cool.
Mm.
We have talked a lot in our previous episodes about life on Mars, about what we think might be down there, might have been down there, the likelihood. In the last few months, interestingly, we've seen that life on Mars, or previous life on Mars, both potentially, has become increasingly more likely. And life on Venus is becoming increasingly unlikely because they're now going, Venus didn't used to be this Earth-like planet. It was always a flipping hellhole. So that's pretty cool because I think, a few years ago people were saying, well, maybe Venus is the one that used to have life on it. It used to be really nice. And now, no, it was Mars all along.
Didn't they work out that ocean under the surface of Mars isn't too deep for photosynthesis or something?
Yeah, it was that, because Mars doesn't have an ozone layer, it's got a lot of radiation, so there can't be life on the surface, it wouldn't survive. But there's enough dirt in the ice, this study found, this was a few months ago, I think 2 months ago, that it could block enough radiation that maybe life could survive, and there was still enough sunlight getting through that the microbes underneath could photosynthesize, if there are any there. So that's cool. There could currently be life on Mars, very unlikely, but that was really good.
That was quite good.
that was really deep, wasn't it?
You did 7 out of 10 for that.
Thanks, man. I really
Nice
appreciate
reverberation. Didn't quite get the windows rattling. But...
No,
That
but
recorded
thanks.
on the mic, definitely.
I reckon someone's having a phone call in another office. It wasn't me, I swear. Anyway, let's move on
That was interesting.
to the second bit of moose.
Moose.
It's not your day today,
What
is
the
it?
fuck is happening to you? I'm looking sensible and intelligent next to you right now.
God, what a world we live
I
in.
know.
Well, I wouldn't also go there. I think you're not quite. I mean, you just kept on saying random stuff and giggling the whole last story. But this is the discovery.
That space.
This is the discovery of an ancient Roman basilica in London, which is very, very important because it is the first Roman basilica in London. When Rome founded London in 50 AD, or Londinium as it was called back then, they built a forum because that's what all good towns should have, a central forum where, just the political and social heart of the city. And in that forum there's usually a basilica. Rome has tons of them and they're massive and they can have a variety of uses. A standard basilica like the one in Londinium, this one, will have had a variety because it was the only one there and therefore the only building that could do, for example, trials. So it's important in law making as well. The basilica is a very important part of the Roman Forum. Rome has a bunch of them. I think I read from my own notes that I took at university when I studied Rome, that one of the particularly large basilicas, where there was enough space for 4 courtrooms in addition to other things. So they are sometimes colossal buildings. But I think basilicas, in a way, are the heart of a city. Interestingly, this is the first basilica of the first Roman Forum in London. London grew so quickly that they, I don't know if they extended or built a new one. I probably should, but I couldn't find out.
A new London.
Forum. Built a new forum that was a lot bigger to accommodate the growing needs of the city.
A new London.
What? Where's the comedy there?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just ignore it. At this point.
Yeah. Bigger forum, and with the bigger forum came a second, much larger basilica as well. That has already been found. There's a second basilica. It's very large. We already know where it is. I think we probably already excavated a bunch of it. This particular one has been discovered. I think it was a building site of a tower that was already coming down to be rebuilt.
Yeah, the images of the excavation were really cool because it was just like filing cabinets.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
A hole in the floor going
Yes,
down
that's
to this
because-
ancient Roman structure.
That's because they knew it was probably there.
Yeah.
And so they went, okay, it's around here somewhere. What we're going to do in this office, we're going to dig straight
just
down.
went straight
They
there.
missed it. They went,
Not
I
even
haven't found
remove
anything.
file
And
cabinets.
I think it was a third attempt that they found it. Which is, it's very cool, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that picture was pretty cool.
And they're hoping when they rebuild the tower or whatever building work they're doing, they're hoping to have the bottom floor as a public museum for the basilica.
Yeah, I
which
saw
should be very cool.
the images of that as well.
Some
Went
concept
there for
art of some museums.
it. Good visit. there.
But yeah, I love Roman stuff. I did Rome at university a little bit as part of my history Anyway, I studied Rome at university. That's what you need to know. Emilia's doing weird hand gestures now. So it was very cool to see this discovery and then get to look back at my own notes and go, oh, I learned about this and I've forgotten it. But yeah, Rome
Nice.
in London.
Wow.
What do you say? This is a reconstruction of that first basilica. So that's what it would have looked like roughly. Look
And then it got
when
bigger.
you think, look how big that is. Look at the people.
Mm.
Very, very small in compared to the building. That's not because they were small people. Yeah? They were the size that we are today. Maybe a bit smaller, maybe like her size. But they were the size of people today. And yet, the building, big. How do you like them apples?
What have the Romans ever done for us?
Well, I would say they built this, but it fell down, didn't they? So what have the
Yeah.
Romans ever done for us?
Exactly.
Aqueducts, ain't any there. Rome still uses one of the original Roman aqueducts to get
That's
water
cool.
to the. Maybe it's not Rome. Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe it's two places. But there is in
Yeah.
Italy a Roman aqueduct still being used for its original purpose. That is.
They knew how to build an aqueduct.
They did know how to build. They also knew how to build basilicas.
Yeah.
They built two of them in London. Built many
Nice.
in Rome.
I knew how to build a lot of stuff, to be fair.
Why is there a red circle? Can you guys see that? On the right of the image, there's a red circle, like it's trying to find...
Yeah.
I was really confused.
Maybe
Very
that's
faint.
circling.
It's
They're
not
probably
so.
talking about something else.
I completely
Yeah.
missed that. I reckon what someone's done, they've scanned in an image and someone's put their coffee mug on the picture.
That is not what that is.
Yeah, I
It's a
reckon
bit
that's it.
pixelated.
Yeah, pixelated
Yeah.
coffee. Shall we move
Well,
on?
Yeah, there's been a lot of very interesting paleontology news as well.
That is good.
But I've narrowed it down to about 3. Is that the 4 corners?
Yeah,
It is
go
Sounds
up
like
all
a
day.
ship.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the really cool things that
Oh, that's why it's been wiggling every time I move.
it was actually propped up.
It
Yeah.
was lifted
Alright.
by your chair. Can we one day please take the fire resistant tag off that chair? Because I see it in every video.
Happy?
There we go. We're so professional here in this office.
Right, go on.
Yeah, so they found some plesiosaur skin, which is very cool because it's actually quite rare to find skin from plesiosaurs themselves. It's been found in a few other marine reptiles, like ichthyosaurs, for example, but there's not too many samples of it from plesiosaurs. It's this specimen in Germany. It is Lower Jurassic, so about 183 million years old. They don't say what species it is. I don't know if it's been described or what, but around one of the foreflippers and the tail, there's skin impressions, and they're very well preserved. You can even see these ones here actually show this is the very outer layer of the skin.
Oh,
This is
wow.
coming from around the tail, and then the inner layer as well. These round circles here are the actual cells, and the darker bits within them are the remnants of the nuclei. That's
Wow.
actually the cell nuclei in there. So this is a very well preserved specimen. The interesting thing is that they found the tail lacks scales, whereas the foreflipper has scales. Lots of very small, kind of like modern reptiles like sea turtles and things.
Are they usually shown with scales in art then? Because they look quite
Generally-
smooth in art.
Yeah, generally not. Generally, we did sort of suspect they would have lost their scales because it's like a hydrodynamic thing, or they might have had really really small scales. But now we know it varied across the body, which is really interesting.
Excuse me.
So they think possibly the scales on the foreflippers could have influenced the hydrodynamics as well. Maybe it was beneficial. Actually, if you go to the next one, there's some really nice paleo art by Joshua Knupe. Kind of.
Quaid, get off the phone.
if you just go to the next one.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Professional, you say.
Is he
Professional.
vomiting up some sand?
No, so this is
No,
what they think it might have been doing, because we've actually got these feeding traces of plesiosaurs where they're scraping through sediment to look for prey, and it's something that sea turtles sometimes do as well, I think, and some other marine animals. But they think that maybe the scales on the flippers could have helped provide traction or protection as they were going along the surface. They're kind of like dragging themselves along and then sifting through the sediment. So that's what it's showing here. And then the tail would have been smooth. Most of the body was probably smooth, and then there were some like fine scales on the flippers. So now we know that. Now we know these things about plesiosaurs, which we didn't before, which is very cool.
That is very cool. Weird
Yeah.
camera angle. It's a really like.
It's we're
It's
showing the actual detail of the scales.
Yeah.
It's a very cool picture.
What can we learn from having all these skin cells and the nuclei of the skin cells? Like what
I don't know. They probably
can
go
we
to.
learn? What level of detail?
What's the point in your science?
I
Ben?
mean, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
got
no, I know,
preserved
but I-
cells.
Come on, Emilia. We
What
do
can
it
you
because
do
we
with
love
these
it.
cells?
I
You're not
mean,
even a paleontologist.
Not officially.
I don't know if they say much more than this is the structure you can see, and it's got that detail.
Yeah. I
but
mean,
they
even if
can-
you can't learn anything from it apart from how the animal looked, it's still interesting. I was just wondering if we could. I
don't
mean,
know
I
if they say much more
like,
than that, but
do
yeah.
they say the next steps in research or?
I mean, probably looking at other specimens that might have skin preserved, because it would be really cool to have a few more of these. Maybe see if it's all species of plesiosaurs that have like the variation in skin and scale types, or if it's just this one. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is that it varied across the body, which is very cool.
Mm.
We didn't really suspect that.
You're
What?
laughing at me yawning.
No, No, we're both laughing at ourselves, really. It was what's happened. She was yawning and laughed at herself.
Oh, okay.
No,
And
I was yawning and I laughed at your facial expression.
She's laughing at my face, and I'm laughing because I went, but I had a voice crack halfway through. I went, So, there you go.
Anyway, surrounded by professionals.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's a fish.
Is it eating? That looks important.
I think it's, probably cleaning. You know how sharks have fish that come along and nibble at the skin and that? It's just cleaning some dead skin, dead scales. It's coming off.
What's that?
Yeah.
Is that a fish?
Don't know what the name of the fish is, but. And
Sorry.
it's eating.
I'm trying to ask
It's
questions.
got a crab there. Is that a crab?
I thought it was a frog.
I
Yeah,
think it's some
That's
kind
the
of
body,
squid.
that's the legs.
I
Probably
thought it
more
was a
likely a
squid.
squid, yeah.
It's
What's
Size
that
and
thing?
length.
Is it one of them? Is it? Oh, it's an ammonite. Is it an ammonite?
Oh,
That
it
might
might
be
be an
an-
ammonite.
Don't know.
What are these things?
Rocks.
those are-
Bivalves,
those
it looks like.
Oh.
Clams, aren't they?
Yeah. Anyway, we
Basically
can
rocks that
head on to the
are
next.
You heard it here first, folks. Emilia Evans, 2025. Clams are basically rocks that are alive.
All right.
If you'd say any type of animal was a rock, it'd be some kind of shell. Some bivalve, some gastropod. I mean,
Moving
why-
onwards.
Yeah, good point. What's next? What's the other story you've got for
Also,
us?
very, very cool discoveries of Megaraptorids, the oldest
Oh, yes.
Megaraptorids in the world, and they're from Australia. So this is members of Megaraptoridae specifically, not Megaraptorans, which is a bigger group that they belong to.
of course.
But these ones, found in Australia, about 121. Is Australia funny?
What are you...
His face.
Again?
Okay.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Let
So about
let-
120 to 118 million years old, and these are the actual Megaraptorid fossils they found. So this is two tail vertebrae cemented together, and this is the end of the tibia, I think. Yeah, tibia. And it's very interesting because it shows that Megaraptorids were actually getting quite big, because these animals were probably about 6 to 7 meters in total length. So they probably got big in Australia, then spread to South America a bit later via Antarctica. But it means they were big in Australia. Not only that, if you go to the next slide, they also found
Wow.
the first ever Carcharodontosaurian dinosaurs in Australia. So these are things that includes, like Carcharodontosaurus itself, all these giant South American predators, Maposaurus and Giganotosaurus. Yes?
No, I'm just pogging.
Oh, okay. You're very impressed by the Carcharodontosaurian.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But the weird thing is, these Carcharodontosaurians in Australia were small, and the Megaraptorids were giant.
Well, that's
or
weird.
bigger.
What's going
And
on?
So it just means Australia once again was weird in prehistoric times.
And the exception to every rule
Yeah.
ever known to man.
Because slightly later on in the Cretaceous, there would have been smaller Megaraptorids in South America living alongside the absolute giant Carcharodontosaurians, things like Maposaurus and Giganotosaurus, some of the biggest dinosaurs ever, theropod dinosaurs ever. But in Australia this time there were giant Megaraptorids, apparently keeping the Carcharodontosaurians small, which is quite cool. Then of course later on in the Cretaceous, in South America, the Carcharodontosaurians go extinct, and then you get the Megaraptorids becoming giant at the very end. You've got Maipe, as you know. Maipe macrothorax lived right at the end of the Cretaceous after the Carcharodontosaurians went extinct in South America and became enormous itself, possibly, rivaling T-Rex in size, which is pretty cool. And then this is also an Unilagine dromaeosaurid, which they found
I was
a
going to
fragment
ask
of.
about that guy.
Yeah, they found another fragment of that. And it just shows that this group of dromaeosaurids, they're possibly dromaeosaurids, some people think they might be their own family, but they were also doing well in Australia at this time as well. So yeah, some cool discoveries. None of them are named to new species, they're just fragments, bits and pieces, but they were there and they were doing the things, and Megaraptors were getting big, so
I never often
Very cool.
hear much about dinosaurs in Australia. When you're talking about prehistory, it's always usually Pleistocene and Quaternary and the weird ass mammals
Yeah.
and things they had there.
Have you watched the Walking Dinosaurs episode?
Have I? Which
That's a
one's
good
in
one.
Australia?
Spirits of the Ice Forest, the one with the polar allosaurs.
That's
And,
Australia?
Yeah.
I really wish it was going to be called Walking with Dinosaurs Australia.
No, I guess
I
it's not
haven't
an
watched
obvious
it
name.
in years. That's really
It's
cool.
an underrated episode. It's always my
It
least
is.
favourite as a
No,
kid. But
I
I love
always
it now.
really liked it. No,
Yeah.
It made me sad though, because obviously they all burned to death.
She was above you, you were a
Wait, what?
child. What?
They don't
Hang on, what?
That's
no,
the
no,
second
you-
episode.
that's the second.
Amelia.
Yeah.
They will freeze to death instead. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
In the ice episode,
Antarctica,
they burned to death.
The one with the Coolosuchus?
The big amphibian
It's
comes
in-
out of the water.
It's in Antarctica technically because
Oh.
Australia was connected to, well, kind of.
Yeah, it's
just split off.
they say Antarctica, but it's
Like-
all Australian dinosaurs,
Yeah,
so it's like
yeah.
when they were joined, yeah.
Like a Pachycetus relative thing coming out of the water.
No.
The
No.
furry one, is that
No,
different
because
episode?
that's Walking with Beasts.
That's a
Emilia,
mammal.
because
It's
we're
an
dealing with
amphibian.
dinosaurs. here.
Remember?
Cordyceus, the little tiny little I can't remember the
Yeah,
No,
name.
I can't. Okay, yes,
Yeah.
clearly it wasn't one of my favourites and very
Okay.
not memorable because I
Watch
really
my
can't
review
remember.
video of it. It's a good video.
You haven't watched the review video?
Yes, I've watched the review videos, probably more recently than the actual.
You just
Yeah.
missed the bit about all the science.
Yeah.
I might have skipped that one because I thought it was
Damn.
uninteresting, which is again very
No,
sad.
it's an
for
underrated
Australia.
episode. I like it.
I watched it, don't worry about it.
That's that one. Nobody. I don't think anybody watched that one actually. All the others.
No one watched it!
specifically,
You're lying.
specifically that
views.
episode.
Was that
'cause,
one just a really low review?
Yeah, and I don't know
Oh,
why, because that episode's really
Australia.
cool.
Maybe because it's less cool for... Why is it that you think it thought it was less cool as a kid but you like it now?
I
What's the
don't
difference?
know. I think there just weren't that many dinosaurs in it, and it was kind of like, I guess, a depressing episode. But the more I watch it, it's so atmospheric. The music, as always in every episode, is so good.
So as you've gotten
Especially
older,
that one.
as you've gotten older,
Yeah,
you've gotten
I
to
appreciate it
appreciate the wider range of cinematography and
Yeah.
the movie making process.
And the fact that they actually showed some Australian dinosaurs, despite at the time knowing next to nothing about most of them, they were like, "Screw it, we're gonna go for it and
Nice.
depict these dinosaurs."
Gotta love it.
Call it Polar Allosaurus when it's probably Australovenator or something else entirely, but they're like, "No, dwarf
Polar
Polar
Allosaurus."
Allosaurus." Allosaurus itself was in Australia at this time, millions of years later after it actually lived. But anyway, I go into all of that in the episode. The final thing I was going to talk about for this week is
Oh, you've got 3.
yeah,
Wow.
new pterosaur.
It's got a neck!
Woo!
Yeah, it's only a neck. That's it. That is the bone that they found. But this is quite a cool one. So what do they call it? Infernodracon hasticolis. Is that how you said it in the episode?
Wait, let me
Yes.
read it.
That one.
Yes, it is.
Infernodracon hasticolis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
You sound less sure than me, and you said it, and I just listened.
I'm sure it was fine, but
It was how you said it.
okay. That's good. I wasn't here for recording the episode, so I don't.
Yeah.
Ben, if it's
Yeah.
not, if he's not in front of the camera, he doesn't think it's worth his time. were you
I'll
a
be
driving
editing it.
lesson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be editing it later. It references Romans in the name. Hasticolis comes from hasta,
Yes.
a kind of Roman spear.
Spear. I'm going
And,
to Google what that looks like.
Yeah, the Latin word column, meaning neck, because it does sort of look like a spear for a neck, I
It's
suppose.
got a bloody
Yeah.
long neck.
It's a fifth cervical vertebra, so it's the fifth bone of the neck, which is very long in Ashdarchids. And it was discovered it was either 2001 or 2002, in the Hell Creek Formation. So Infernodracon means the dragon from hell because it was uncovered in the Hell Creek, so a very appropriate name.
Badass name.
Very cool sounding name. It actually was discovered in the same field jacket as a Tyrannosaurus rex specimen, the one known as Jane, which is a much discussed specimen because there's ideas that it could be proving Nanotyrannus and all this. Is like a juvenile T-Rex, so I don't know what the latest research is on that. But anyway, this bone came from right next to it, right next to a T-Rex. And for many years, it was just referred to as Quetzalcoatlus, which of course is the famous giant Ashdarchid. Actually, I think if you go to the next
That's a lot
slide-
shorter than Quetzalcoatlus, isn't it?
Yes, it's only the wingspan they say is 4.15 meters, but in life with the curving was probably only like 3 to 4 meters, so not near the 10-meter wingspan of Quetzalcoatlus. But the fact that they've now reanalyzed this bone and said actually they can recognize enough differences from Quetzalcoatlus to name this as its own new species, Infernodracon, means that Quetzalcoatlus is now not known from the Hell Creek Formation. It's restricted to the Javelina Formation in Texas, which it sort of like crosses over in time, but it's a bit earlier on. So that's quite interesting because basically scientists had sort of been lumping all this North American Ashdarchid material into Quetzalcoatlus, and so our idea of Quetzalcoatlus was that it was quite a long-ranging species, had a very broad geographic distribution, but it turns out that at least this one and probably some others, they'd like reassessed some other ones as well, were not Quetzalcoatlus, they were something else. So Quetzalcoatlus only lived in this one time and place as far as we know until they revise it and maybe find some more. But yeah, as they say, basically they warn against doing that, basically, when you find like fragmentary remains of something that sort of looks like something else and you refer it to that genus, it kind of just, changes what we really know about its distribution and stuff. So actually you should avoid doing that and maybe just refer it to the family instead. Yeah, so not only do we get a cool new pterosaur, Infernodracon, but it also tells us a lot about Quetzalcoatlus and its distribution and when and where it lived. So yeah.
In
Lots of cool things.
terms of naming things after fragmentary materials, though,
Yeah.
as was discussed,
As was heavily and very interestingly discussed last week.
this
Month.
does lie as sort of an exception because it is
Why?
the.
Well, so
gonna
yeah,
say.
again, it is just one bone, but with Azhdarchids, especially the giant ones, this is about as good as you get in many cases. And you know, in the past couple of decades, paleontologists have learned a lot more about specifically neck bones of Azhdarchids. So they argue, you know, going back and examining the specimen, that now we have this greater understanding of the anatomy and stuff. There are more features they can point to and say, oh, this is something new, not just Quetzalcoatlus.
And if I'm correct, it is the only Azhdarchid remains from the formation.
I think, not 100% sure, I'll have to check the paper again. They might have some other ones, but this was the only, I think the only one referred to Quetzalcoatlus in the formation.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
sure about that.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
To,
There's a good case for it. They obviously make the case in the paper and they got peer reviewed and accepted, so I guess some people agreed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that because of the research that we have on Azhdarchid bones like this,
Yeah.
we can use this to extrapolate a whole creature from. Whereas
Yeah.
some of the other things that we were discussing last month, we either don't have enough research on or are less, generally less easy bones to extrapolate
Yeah,
a larger
it will always
creature
depend
from.
on the bone you found, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of features of Azhdarchid neck bones that are very distinct, and that there's not a lot else you could mistake it for. And now that we know even more about their anatomy and what these mean, can use that one to say something new.
Yeah, I mean, as we were discussing, that's just a general trend of basically getting overexcited. But this
Yeah.
has been, we've had this bone since, what, 2001, 2002, you
Yeah.
said. It's been debated over, it's been thought over, there's good evidence of it, there's good expertise behind it.
I'm sure we'll probably end up getting a paper saying it's just indeterminate Azhdarchid again.
Oh, inevitably.
Probably. Well, that's just paleontologists.
If there's
like to
anything
argue.
paleontologists like to do, it's gossip and argue.
Oh yeah.
That is
We
so
know-
true.
We know about that.
That is so true.
Yeah. But yeah, that's.
So you're okay with this because you were pretty vehemently against.
I am obviously the only opinion that scientists need to worry about, and I give it my stamp of approval. So guys, relax.
This is okay.
No,
Put down the
I'm not-
pitchforks, people. We're all good.
I'm not an expert. I'm just
No, but I'm interested because
I'm
you were
just
so
giving my
passionate
two
about it
pence
last
in.
week,
yeah, but
and
it
it's
really
difficult
is.
for.
You can't
Comments.
say no. You can't do it at all. It's a case by case basis that they've made a good case.
Yeah.
You know, I just think some papers don't make a good enough case.
The one we were discussing before was Megaraptor, which was an exceptional case as well because it was based on destroyed fossils and
Yeah,
photographs
that's
of
true.
destroyed
Yeah.
fossils, which is maybe pushing it, but they
She
did
was not
go
happy.
for all these rules with the
Oh,
ICZN. So
It wasn't that I didn't believe them or didn't believe the science or anything. It's just that I was very hesitant
yeah.
of the principle.
Of the science.
Well, there's a very nice complete fossil for you next.
Oh!
Yeah.
Now, we are going back to Egypt 30 million years ago. To this beautiful Hyaenodont, bear with me.
Bear?
Named after
Okay, carry on, I guess.
It's not a bear.
Just
Right.
no hesitation.
You are the history man. You know Egypt pronunciation Bastet.
Bastet.
Bastet. Named after Bastet, which is an Egyptian warrior goddess of the sun. Which camera am I meant to be looking at?
The one with you in it.
Alright, I don't know, there are very few. So it has been named Bastetodon
Is that it?
Cyrtos.
Oh, okay.
Which has been named Bastetodon Cyrtos, obviously after Bastet, that Egyptian warrior goddess. It was a lower jaw, originally found in 1999, and included within the wastebasket taxon Pterodon. To be honest, neither of the stories that I've put on are within my expertise per se, so I don't have a
It's been a
huge
bit of a
amount.
slow month for your stuff, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't have a huge amount to weigh in. These were just the ones that I found the most fascinating. I love things like hyaenodonts. I love Egypt's history, so I was fascinated by
How
both
many
of these.
times
So I
have you watched
can't.
The Mummy in the last month?
Oh God.
Huh?
When we were in Morocco, I may have watched it twice.
We were in Morocco and she
Space
went,
of
oh, I'm
Vegas.
going to watch the Morocco tonight. Morocco? I'm going to watch Morocco, she's just staring out the window. No, I'm going to watch The Mummy tonight. And then like the next day,
Yeah.
we
I'm
were
gonna
just
watch The
sitting
Mummy
there
again.
like having drinks, you know, stroking the cat. And
Barry.
Miss Barry. And then you went, yeah, you know what, I might do? I might watch The Mummy tonight. And we were like,
You just watched it?
Yeah, literally.
and then you just started giggling.
Yeah, I watched half of it one day, the other half the next day, then the day after I watched it the whole way through.
You were really trying to pace yourself and savour it, but you just couldn't.
No, it wasn't going to work. It's just too good film.
What's your
So I'm on a
favourite
bit of
bit?
an Egypt kick. Anything with Evelyn in it, to be honest, I just really like watching her. She's so cool. Oh, I am a librarian. That's possibly my favourite part. Yeah, that's what she does. She's drunk in the scene, so that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's not just saying that, she's drunk.
That's
why
quite
it's.
fun.
It's a very good part.
Alright.
You appreciate me, don't you, Charlie? Thank you.
Okay.
Right, anyway.
Back to actual Egypt.
Yes, so wastebasket taxons, these are things where we find loads of bones or whatever and we're like, oh, we're not really sure what it is. Let's put it in this one. And then it keeps happening to this particular taxon. So then decades later, paleontologists have to search through the taxon and identify every single thing within it. And it usually ends up that the taxon's partially disbanded or something. It's something like that. It happens a lot with dinosaurs, I believe.
Oh yeah.
I
all
can't
the
think
time.
of any of the main ones we learnt about.
Megalosaurus.
Ah,
That's the
yes.
iconic one. Yeah, things like that.
There's a few different ones. So basically, this lower jaw was assigned to Pterodon, and it's not. So it's been put in a new genus, Bastetodon. Hyaenodonts were the apex predators of the Paleogene. Fantastic. They could reach as much as 1.5 meters long. No, 1.5 meters tall and 3 meters long. That's large. That's pretty big.
Hang on, stand up.
Am I about 1.5
1.5?
meters? I don't know.
That's what a metre looks like tall.
Fuck, really? They were that big? No, it's not, is it?
No!
Let me say my dad. Let me say my dad. Okay, yeah. Fuck you, Doug, dude.
Bastetodon, however, was only about the size of a hyena. So
It
not
says
the biggest.
1.5 meters
No,
tall.
Hyaenodonts themselves, like as a group, the largest Hyaenodont could reach 1.5 meters tall, 3 meters long. This one though was big, but not the biggest.
Not the biggest.
But
Poor
the size of a
guy.
hyena, so about a meter tall, maybe slightly
Yeah.
less.
I should say as well, they are not hyenas. They're
No,
different.
no,
different
they are
animals.
not hyenas. They are called hyenas because it means hyena tooth.
Yeah.
They've got teeth that look like hyenas, and they're not even very closely related to
They've
them.
got teeth that look like hyenas.
But
like tiny
it's
little
like convergent
models.
evolution. They
Yeah.
look similar, they're not similar. I don't have a huge amount to weigh in on this, except from I love predatory
It's a very
mammals,
nice
and this
skull.
is kind of badass.
Really complete, nice skull. Which is cool.
Yeah.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's pretty
The
much
wastebasket thing's cool. I didn't know about that.
It's
That's
interesting to know, yeah. So
Yeah.
there are loads of wastebasket taxons
Yeah,
that
well,
haven't been sorted through.
Quetzalcoatlus was becoming one.
Mm.
That's why.
Fun. What
was-
was you said something about pterodon?
That's the old name. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
What does ptero
what
mean?
does
then?
pterodon mean?
That means wingtooth.
Ptero. Wingtooth.
Ptero is wing.
Wing. That's the pterosaur.
Yeah, PTO.
Yeah,
I was
wingtooth.
wondering what ptero.
Don't know. It probably has like a tooth with a big flange on it. Looks like a wing.
Maybe it
It,
flies like a griffin.
Yeah, its teeth flew away.
you heard it here
Its
first.
teeth
folks.
flew away.
Yeah, wingtooth.
Wow. Imagine that if you, when you're a baby, your baby teeth just woo. Maybe that's where the tooth fairy came from.
Could be.
Wow.
Do you think the hyaenodonts had their own tooth fairies?
Yeah. We've discovered it now and here and now.
And back to Egypt for my second story.
Oh, what the hell is that?
Yeah. That is just rude. He was a living man. He was.
Yeah,
That
emphasis on was.
I don't know, maybe he comes alive at night, like.
What
like,
was his name? Rami Malek.
right, like Rami Malek.
Yeah.
He was Rami Malek.
He was a made-up pharaoh, wasn't he?
Oh, he made up.
No,
I think
that's
that
the
was real.
actor's name.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
we're
that's
saying
what
who
I
did he
know.
play. We know that.
No, he played a pharaoh that came to life in Night of the Museum.
Yeah, no, we've got... Okay. Let's have a conversation. Quinn, do you know what Pharaoh Rami Malek played?
Oh, let's.
And if Amelia
I
says
haven't
something,
watched
then...
it
I've
since
got
I
access
You just have to
to
listen to what we're saying.
I know, but his brother had a lisp.
What, the
Any of you
Pharaoh's
seen-
brother
any of you
or
seen
Rami
that
Malek?
museum too?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he's like, back to life.
I have
can't
come
remember
back
that.
to life. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember
Yeah,
it.
good film.
Who does Rami Malek play? Give me a second. This is important.
It is important.
I got no service. So.
Oh. Right, you talk about the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out who Rami Malek played.
Right, so this crusty boy that we're talking about today is Thutmose II, son of Thutmose I, father of Thutmose III, as you would have guessed. And he was married to his half-sister, and I was going to say wife, but obviously he was married
Yeah,
to
he's
her.
not real. It's made up.
Yeah. So, we already had this crusty guy, we had the mummy. I feel like this is rude of me to be...
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Thutmose II was a bit of a tyrant. Like,
He is also dead, so there's no worries about him being upset about it. And I reckon anyone who knew him was also probably dead. So
Look, if I've learnt anything from watching The Mummy twice in 3 days, it's that we don't fuck with pharaohs, okay?
apart from Rami Malek, he's alive now.
And he's
Yeah.
sexy.
And he probably knew Thutmose II.
That's
Personally.
true.
Yeah.
Go to
Did
any
he?
museum.
Yeah,
Why?
Because
he's a mummy?
he was a mummy.
Did they have a name for him? One?
Rami
Akhman
Malek
Ra.
is actually
Akman
a
Ra.
resurrected pharaoh in real life.
Yeah, in real life, Rami Malek. Go
what
and
the
see
fuck
it.
is going
If
on?
any
The
of you
Book of Amun Ra.
Viewers, if any of you go to a red carpet and Rami Malek is there, you have to run up to him and shake his hand and be like, "Oh my God, Pharaoh! What was it like in ancient Egypt?" If he looks confused and scared, it's all an act.
Really? He's an actor. We know that much. We know that much.
Can I please talk about the mummy now?
Okay.
We already had his body. We found his original tomb. So when pharaohs or kings or whatever are buried, they have how they're buried, the mummification process kind of inscribed on their tomb, and it's usually 4 steps. But he had a 5th step because, as we have worked out, we didn't know this originally, he was moved. So we found his original tomb, which is pretty awesome. What was the significance? Because all the articles were saying that this is the first one found in... But it's
Yeah,
not.
also, quickly, we said that as well, I'm afraid. We said
Yeah.
that it was the first tomb of an Egyptian pharaoh since the tomb of Tutankhamun was found. And Quinn has discovered that it is not the first tomb of the...
That
It was not what we said.
That was, yeah.
That's what all the headlines
Yeah.
were.
All the headlines were
Misinformation.
All the headlines were
spread.
And we helped with that. So on behalf of... Yeah, sorry. Anyway, Quinn, what was the...
Yes.
It is, however, the first... Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so unfortunately not. This is not the first tomb found since King Tut. We found plenty. I say we, I haven't done anything. We haven't done anything.
We've done it together,
Plenty have
man.
been found, many different tombs. They've even found some destroyed pyramids which actually contain the remains of pharaohs in them since King Tut, which is very significant because pretty much no pyramid contains the remains of pharaohs. I think only 3 contain any bodily remains, because if you look at a pyramid, it's kind of like a massive beacon saying there's treasure and
Dead
mummies
people.
in there. This is the first tomb discovered around the Valley of Kings since King Tut.
Oh, okay.
So it's not in the Valley of Kings, it's very close to it, and yeah, this is the closest. But it's nowhere near as exciting. Well, it is exciting, but it's nowhere near as exciting as King Tut, because there's nothing in it, apart
So
from
true.
a few things.
One thing
But-
that I did remember from the story was that there is a score of... I don't know if it's a dynasty or just an era of Egyptian pharaohs that we don't know where their tombs are, and we haven't found any of them, and this is the first that we found. So it's kind of like,
Yes.
okay, we thought they were around here somewhere, we now know we were right.
Yes, so I think, but basically, we've solved an ancient mystery by finding this, is that the 5th inscription was that he was moved, but we don't actually have his second tomb, the one where he was moved to, because I think what happened is that he and several other pharaohs, including his wife, whose name I cannot...
Hatshepsut.
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 Hat. what he said.
We've had a couple of attempts and we'll roll with it.
What is it? What is it spelled?
It's spelt how you said it. Hatshepsut, yeah. The multiple of those were found in a place together, but their tombs haven't been found. Is that correct?
I think some of them have. I think most
Not
of them have.
all of
Specifically,
them, no.
for some reason.
So that's what you were referring to.
For some reason, his father and his son are buried. I say buried, are in the same place with him. But Hatshepsut, his wife, is not. But we do have her mummy. For some reason, they were just put in separate caches. They're called, which are just collections of pharaohs.
Yeah, so basically, after he was buried, looting became a major issue in ancient Egypt. As again, you'd see a tomb or a pyramid, you go, treasure encrusted body.
Ka-ching!
That is what I want. So priests gathered lots of Egyptian mummies together, and this is why we didn't have his tombs. So we've found his first tomb now. Whoop whoop. We haven't found the one that he was re-entombed within, because we had his body from a different location. We have this location, we don't have the one he was moved to.
Ooh.
Which is pretty interesting. So, the fun reason why he had to be moved from his first one is because they built it under a waterfall and it flooded within 2 years of him getting put down there, which, if you're a body trying to be dried and mummified, is not quite good. It's a good thing he's still crusty and not gooey.
What?
Well, you know, if water got into him, he'd just go mushy, you know? So I'm just saying that it's good that
You said that as if it was like a catchphrase or something.
Yeah. Because I don't have a huge amount of expertise to weigh in on this, I've got some fun facts. So, fun fact, he was the 4th pharaoh of the 18th dynasty. Only reigned for about 13 years, poor guy. So he's greatly overshadowed by his father, Thutmose I, and his son, Thutmose III. He's also overshadowed by his wife and half-sister, once again, Hatshepsut.
That's not it.
Who is probably the second most famous female pharaoh after Cleopatra.
Was Nefertiti
Yeah.
a pharaoh?
I don't think so.
I know from
I
Doctor
don't
Who.
know.
I don't think she was a pharaoh.
I'm not. She's one of the most famous women from ancient Egypt, and she ruled alongside his son, who incidentally was also not her son. But it's just 2 fascinating stories, both Egypt themed. For some reason, I've been on an Egypt kick,
Nice.
but I don't really have any expertise except from they were absolutely fascinating to read and write about.
Wow. Now I believe Quinn has something to say.
Quinn always has
I was
something
going
to
to say Nefertiti was not a pharaoh. She was a wife to Pharaoh Akhenaten, I think. So she was a queen.
Rami Malek!
Rami Malek.
So Hatshepsut got into power because she was of the bloodline and Thutmose III was illegitimate. Is that the
I don't think that
going
matters.
forward?
I believe she was queen while Thutmose III was young, and then during his ageing up process,
And then he...
growth, what's that called? Living? Life? I don't know.
Yeah.
She took full power.
Yeah, they effectively ruled together. Thutmose III was very young when his father died, and so when he became pharaoh,
So she just
she kind of
sidled in.
ruled with him, and then eventually took full command. Sort of scrubbed a lot of the history of of her husband, her late husband, from like the records. I mean, there wasn't much he could do.
And
He only
her
ruled for about
too, she
13
was his
years.
half-sister.
Yeah, and then
It's her history as well.
and then I might be wrong here. After she died, Thutmose III continued to rule. I'm pretty sure he replaced a lot of her inscriptions and stuff with his father. So sort of this weird ebb and flow of
Obviously
stuff.
there was some kind of family dynamic.
Yeah, I
there.
might be wrong with that. I don't understand that nearly as well as I do with the crusty bodies.
A bit like Queen Isabella,
Yeah, but
except more
it's
successful.
much harder to analyse the social history than it is just...
Any of the history. The problem with going farthest back in history is, as you've partially alluded to, stuff gets destroyed, and also so little stuff is written down.
History is
It's
written by
so-
the victors.
That's not true.
Alright, it's just an expression. I'm allowed to say that.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, the Egyptians. When you go that far back, there's so little evidence to work with. I mean, any ancient history is very difficult, but we have nothing written down because they were writing in hieroglyphs. And we just have to use the tiniest, most fragmentary piece of information to work out a lot. It's a little bit like working out...
Sorry, it's just one.
One camera's gone, 4 to go. It's a little bit like working out the entirety of a pterosaur from one singular neck bone in comparison to more modern history, which is, I've got the entire skeleton of a tiger, here's what a tiger looks like, look, there's one over there. So, it's tricky stuff.
That was nicely put. I appreciated that,
Thank you.
You're welcome, It was just... interesting. I have no more to say.
That's crazy.
I know, this month has been... actually, I think I'm coming down with something, to be honest.
Well, when I studied history at university, I studied the Persian Wars, I studied some more modern stuff. Like especially the most modern stuff. It's you've got so much to work with. You've got to pick and choose, and then you've got to work out what's more reliable, what's less reliable, and it's so tricky. And then with the Persian Wars, you've got Herodotus. That's it. You've also got some physical evidence, but in terms of written down stuff, he's kind of the only guy. He's the main one, and he was talking about people going on long sails, long journeys in their sailing ships, and coming across gods and having a chat with them.
So he could have written down whatever the fuck he wanted.
I mean, he was probably fairly accurate.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Herodotus was he often gives us a variety of opinions and then tells us which ones he thinks is the most likely. It's Thucydides, who later on goes, I collected a variety of opinions, here's what I chose to give to you, because I think this is the correct one. Well, where are the rest of them, Thucydides? I don't really care what you think's right. But, ancient history is difficult. We're working with so little things. And that's why in ancient history, physical pieces of information become so much more important. So that's why you see pots and fragments of pots and everyone gets so excited about it, because it's not that they necessarily contain more history than stuff from 100 years ago that is someone's bowl. It's that because we have so little, each fragment means so much more.
Yeah.
And of course they're more valuable because they're older, so you can sell them for more. Economics. Next up...
That was it.
That's done. I only had 2.
I'll go at the end. I'll go back to the beginning then.
Yeah.
Next up, 7 years of science. How are you all feeling?
Good, yeah.
Well, I've only been here for a year and a half.
Okay,
I'm already tired of your bullshit. So.
Okay, well, let's talk about 7 years of science and you can shut the fuck up. How are we feeling?
Yeah, it's been a good 7 years. Well,
yeah.
It's been interesting.
He's not being
Oh, okay.
good.
I just mean, it's seeing science develop and,
Arguments unfold, Spinosaurus glory wings.
Oh, lovely.
That's been entertaining.
Another bit of Spinosaurus.
Yeah, lots of good Spinosaurus things over the years. It's been fun to document that whole odyssey. Lots of cool human evolution developments. I think we've essentially...
So much.
We have kind of been there to cover a lot of the Denisovan developments, that's always been a highlight for me.
Definitely, because we always joke that there's only that one picture of Denisovans that we can use.
Yeah, I remember that coming out when we were...
Yeah, that was one of our first stories, was that picture being released, and now it's just the only picture we use because no one else has released one since.
And didn't you get demonetised once because there were some boobies on the engine?
What? I was
Wait,
not
which one was
expecting
that?
you to say boobies.
No,
It wasn't Denisovans. No, it was the most recent
It was
subscriber special.
Yeah, no, it wasn't some of these songs.
Yeah, and it was just painting of
I actually went in and photoshopped and kind of
I
blurred
remember
out
to make it better, and it still
all the
didn't.
genitals, which wasn't fun. But we still got that demonetised for quite a while.
I've personally enjoyed your different selection of socks that you bring every time.
Thank you.
Today it's got oranges on it. I can't stop staring at them. They're so funny.
If she's staring at the floor and at my feet, it's not weird. It's because I've got fun socks on.
Yeah, it's apples or I don't know
Apple,
where you've got other ones.
Limes. Thanks to my friend Lenny for buying me all these socks because he was fed up with the holes in my other socks. So he just came downstairs on my birthday with lots of socks and went happy birthday. And it was very lovely.
Socks are actually a pretty good present.
Oh yeah, I got cool ones today. Hammerhead shark socks.
It's always has to be
damn
about
it,
you.
I'm on white socks,
I don't know if I
man.
can see that.
No,
I should have worn my turquoise socks with mammoths on them that I got from Germany.
Nice. Oh yeah.
They're awesome.
you wore some special socks once. What were they? It was some theme. We were doing something, and you wore some socks based
Probably
on what we were doing.
Shark ones for Shark Week.
Maybe.
Isn't it? We've got Christmas sharks as well.
dinosaurs?
Sharks
Oh.
with Christmas
We've done a lot of 7 Days of Science specials when it comes to Shark Week and Worm Week.
Yeah,
haven't we? They've
sharks
always
and
been
worms.
fun. Doing a 7 Days of Science special on shark and worms is very difficult, especially with worms, because there's normally not that much worm news in a year.
Yeah, it's usually
let
like
alone-
parasitic worms or something. I might find some medical story about that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I
sure.
think the first couple of years for Shark News, we did 2 separate episodes. We did a full 7 Days of Shark Science where it
Yeah.
was just the Shark News.
Because sometimes there was quite a lot of shark
Yeah,
news,
it
but
was alright.
recently there hasn't been as much.
No.
I don't know. But no, it's fun doing the specials and just kind of seeing the progress of science over the many years. There's always been
Yeah.
like these sort of individual, almost like story arcs of
Yeah.
scientific debates. Going
I was
back and
going to
forth.
say that's what I love, reporting
Yeah.
on one story and then 2 months later reporting on something that follows on for that, and then a little bit later there's anher one that follows on from
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
but
Whether I'm
iceberg
reporting on it or
this
you.
week.
Yes, and
That's continuous one.
the orcas stories that we were
Yeah.
following last
Yeah,
year, they
yeah.
were beautiful.
Because of the 7 years is a long time, we've managed to follow some of the longer space journeys as well, haven't we? We followed
Oh,
loads
you
of
would
launches.
have,
We get to report on stuff that we reported on years ago, launch, and then 3 years later it turns up at its destination. But we talked about its launch, the Bennu samples, the asteroid samples, both of them,
Oh, yeah.
Bennu and what's the other one? The other one coming
Yeah,
back.
collecting them in, was it some desert somewhere in North America?
Was it?
Was it that one?
I can't remember when they collected from, but they
Yeah, now
collected from an
we've
asteroid.
analysed it and
Yeah, we're finally getting that back. So we covered the
Yeah.
launch. I don't know if we did the launch. We covered the arrival, the landing, the taking of the samples, and they're coming back here.
Yeah,
and
it's cool.
we've talked about them that as well. What else have we done? The advancements in space technology has mostly been SpaceX. There has been a lot of private space, like space flights for willing passengers saying we want to go to space. There was a wave of those a couple of years ago. I think just before the first 7 Days of Science, they had the first Falcon Heavy launch, and now we're into they've caught Starship twice.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Oh, it was good.
And we've got Blue Origin with their own launch system setting that up as well. So that's been cool to watch. The Parker probe, that I don't know, is that going to get far? That gets faster and faster every couple of years or a few months or whatever, doesn't it? Because it gets closer and closer to the sun, and because
Right.
the sun's the largest gravitational object that we can get particularly close to at the moment. When it gets to what we will know from Kerbal Space Program as the
Yeah.
periapsis, well, I don't know if it's actually, I think it's called something slightly different. When it gets to the lowest point of the orbit, it's going the fastest because that's
Yeah.
how orbit works. So it has become the fastest ever thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
a couple of.
That's
It broke its own record a few weeks ago.
nice.
Um,
That's pretty cool.
that is pretty cool. I think it's going to break it maybe one more time. There's a Mercury probe heading to Mercury at the moment.
Yeah. Lots of
Gemini flew into Saturn. Was it Gemini that flew into Saturn? Was it Gemini?
Oh,
that Saturn
Cassini.
Cassini.
Yeah.
Was it Cassini
That
flew
was-
into Saturn? That was early on, I think.
That was before 7 Days Science. I did a video on it. That one? Is that one?
There was
thinking of?
something flew into a gas giant, and that was in some of the science.
I don't know if it, well, I made a whole separate video about Cassini when it went down. Because that was 2017, I think, so that was before 7 Days Science started.
There was another
Wow.
one though, I
There
think.
might have been another one, yeah. Yeah, lots of great space stuff.
Lots of cool
Enjoyed
space.
doing Megalodon stuff as well.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Lots of
Watching that
debates.
get bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller and bigger and
Think
smaller.
Yeah.
about how much has happened in the last 7 years, and then think about how much we're going to report on from here on out.
Oh, it's exciting. Yeah.
So much.
There's so much stuff going on at the moment, even with the space stuff. We've had things that we're going to report on in the future. There are papers, like you said earlier, that have been released that we know we're going to get counter
Rebuttals
rebuttals for. That'll be
Oh, yeah.
exciting. So it's been a really cool 7 years of
And-
science. I think for channel aside and 7 years of science, the stuff aside, it has been a cool 7 years in science, as it
Definitely
always
has,
is.
Yeah.
But
Do you find now, compared to 7 years ago, that on a weekly basis there are more scientific discoveries or articles coming out, or do you find it's not changed that much? Because I can imagine that science over time is becoming. Well,
I'm going to be honest. I'd say the last
capabilities,
3 or 4 years, I think I don't know, but I think there have been less than the ones before. Not paleo.
Yeah,
Paleo's been pretty
every
steady.
single year there's a lot of paleo
Yeah.
news, like
Yeah.
every week. It's very easy to fill up an episode of paleo stuff. Except like the odd week, every now and then when nothing gets published for some reason. It just kind of falls on
With
some
archaeology,
weeks.
it's always all in 1 week, or there's
Yeah.
not a great deal. at
Archaeology
all.
can be pretty.
It's
very-
probably like
patchy.
the new journal issues coming out all at the same time, I reckon.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of Mars stuff recently, like we talked about earlier, so that's cool. There has been a gap in space stuff as well sometimes, but they're always Tell you what's been a great thing to follow, James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh yeah.
That's
He's
cool.
always doing something.
Yeah, that launched during 7 Days of Science. We reported on its launch, we reported on it setting itself up in its orbit, we reported on like it had a problem earlier on, and we've reported on studies that have been published years later on stuff that James Webb Space Telescope has been looking at. And weirdly enough, I have thought in the past, and I've since learned about this, these studies aren't being done by NASA or ESA, they're being done by universities or research independent universities. So how do they get data from the James Webb Space Telescope? They essentially have to book time on the James Webb Space Telescope, which is really, really cool. And scientists, it was on the other day, what was it last week? Sagittarius A star, the black hole at the centre of our galaxy, is much more active than we previously thought, loads of different flares turning up. And the guys doing that study said at the end of the study, I did put a little bit of it in 7 Days of Science, they said they'd quite like a full 24 hours. Or they said, you know what, if we were able to have a full 24 hours on James Webb Space Telescope uninterrupted, then we could make some really good observations in their scientific study or the press release, which I thought was quite funny.
That is funny.
But that was cool.
Scientists throwing shade.
Scientists,
they'd love to do that.
Scientists begging for more time on the James Webb Space Telescope, which is cute.
We need to do something major for 10 years of science, sorry.
Yeah,
we're not that far away, 3 years.
We have got time to plan for it, but then it will come and we'll be like, oh, it's next week, and we'll be like, oh,
yeah,
bugger.
we could do something special.
Let's
We
go
should,
to Antarctica. Find
Yeah,
some
okay, I
dinosaurs.
want to go there. That'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
You
There'd
looked
be
with
no
such
reason-
shock.
I really didn't expect
No, I really want to go there. That's one of my life goals. To go to
No,
Antarctica.
same, but
We'd
like,
all like to
what
go
could
to
we
Antarctica,
do?
but
There's Antarctic dinosaurs.
What would be the reason?
why do we want to go to Antarctica, says Emilia,
No,
who
but
just brought up going to
Yeah,
Antarctica.
but I was expecting you to all go, what the fuck are you talking about? I didn't think Ben would go, oh yeah, we could.
No, I really want to go there. Yeah, it'd be sick. Go to see Krylosaurus and the other ones.
I don't think they're around anymore.
I might find one.
What is really?
Yeah.
Can you
God,
go
he's
fossil
confident.
hunting in Antarctica? I know that.
I think you have to.
Yeah, because there's that man who
go with people.
in the helicopter. There's a
Yes.
cool story.
Okay, maybe 20 years of science when we're like really rich. We can afford to do that.
Make our own.
People, you guys are going to have to start sharing 7 Days of Science more if you want us to be able to fund an expedition to Antarctica and
To
look at
dig
the dinosaurs. All our cameras are running out of battery.
Yeah. But,
But it's been
Summarise.
cool.
Bye, bitches.
yeah.
To summarise,
Great
space
sun,
news.
Yes.
Mars, beach, whatever that other thing was, Basilica.
Yes. Plesiosaur skin, Pterosaur neck, and what was the other thing? I completely forgotten what I did.
Megaraptorids.
Oh, the Megaraptorids, Australians.
This is the worst summary in the history of humanity. But Amelia, go on.
Egypt Hyaenodont, that's not hyena. Egypt mummy, but we didn't find the mummy. We found where the mummy was, but not where he also was.
Jesus Christ. Okay, well, it's been 7 years. It's been great. Thank you.
It feels like it's been 7 fucking years in this room talking to your ass. Sorry.
Okay.
This is what you can expect on the Patreon if you so wish to experience this every month. We try.
There have been some really interesting discussions. Like last week we talked about, I didn't talk about much because I forgot all of it, but we talked about your problem with dinosaurs being named...
We had a healthy debate on the free and easy nature with which paleontologists named dinosaurs on fragmentary material.
And it was actually really interesting.
That's
Watching that back, I was like, this is really cool. This is interesting for me because I know less about paleontology than these two guys. And for me to ask questions and have them answered was cool.
So basically, if you're lucky, you'll get an educational discussion for about 5 minutes of a 40-minute talk.
The week before, Emilia started giggling about
Please
really
no.
immature memes, and
They can watch it and find out.
yeah,
Please don't.
we couldn't cut it out
Actually,
because
no,
it was a really long. It was quite a lot of.
You couldn't
was
cut it
most
out.
of
You
the
just want to
episode.
spite me.
It was baked into the episode.
It was
There's no
baked
way
into
I
around
the
it.
was
episode.
really caffeinated. It's the only excuse I
Last
have.
month you were really ill. What are you now?
Have you not noticed that I've been more normal now? I've said less. I've been less irritating in general. Alright.
All you have to do is wait, and she'll just dig herself into a hole, and then just go, and then we'll be fine.
Yeah, that summarises it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, please do support us on Patreon if you'd like to see some of that.
Follow us on Instagram because we post goofy ass stories sometimes.
Oh god, we are also on TikTok, so check us out on TikTok. Oh no, America's got TikTok back, so you can now check that out as well if you want. What else have we got?
Well, subscribe to 7 Days of Science YouTube channel.
And
Share us
Benji
around.
Thomas.
Oh yeah, that one's well if you want.
And by the Patreons.
Buy the-
Does Benji Thomas have a Patreon?
No, it's
No,
not
just
7
get
Days
the
of
sevens.
Science.
It's
Days
become
of
the 7 Days of
Science.
Science Patreon. It's got loads of Benji Thomas stuff on it, so the Patreon has a wealth of bonus videos,
And-
including these monthly reviews, including a behind the scenes of me making 7 Days of Science a few years ago, behind the scenes of Ben making one of our main videos, behind the scenes of me making one of my main history videos on the Doug A. James channel, bloopers from all sorts of shit, you making yourself look like a tit most of the time, us building a cardboard head that we used for 7 Days of Shark
Oh, that
Science
was
this year.
great
That was good
fun. I love that head. What was his name?
Did we name it?
Did we name it?
Yeah, like Bruce or something.
Oh, probably was Bruce.
Probably was
Yeah.
Terrence. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, that's 7 Days of Science.
Here's the next 7 years.
Oh,
Here's to the
fuck,
next
we've still
7
got
years.
something to film, haven't we? Bye.
Yeah, we're gonna go film Curiosity Box
Yeah.
now.
Oh yeah, buy a curiosity box.
What?
Can
They
they?
can if they want.
Oh, buy a purchase. I thought you meant buy Curiosity Box.
No.
Did you?
Buy a curiosity box.
Okay.